Great day, family. This is Marriage Monday. Let's go. Time out
Come on
with Tony and Odessa. This is episode 1 where we talk about marriage and intimacy. And in this episode, we'll be talking about becoming one.
Right. So Marriage4Real is a conversation on marriage and intimacy.
Marriage and intimacy.
So we were having a discussion earlier about the remember wins.
The remember wins. So next month we talked about we'll be married 20 years. Wow, 20 years. Next month we'll be married. And Odessa brought something up. We went on one of our walks. Sometimes we just take walks around the neighborhood, and she said something. So we're just gonna jump right in. She said something. She said, I'm not sure if I want to be married another 20 years.
I did not say that.
What'd you say? Oh, no, what'd you say?
I said, I don't think I could do this another 20 years.
I heard, I don't know if I want to be married for another 20 years. So I was like,
he was like,
what?
You would have thought like I served him with some divorce papers right there on the spot.
I mean, I was like, what do you mean you don't? So I heard she don't want to be married no more. And so we wasn't on the same page.
Well, okay. Well, leading up to that, we had a lot of tension, just disagreements, little stuff, big stuff. We just could not get on the same page. And so this particular date night, we went on a walk, and we were walking, and I was like, can I be hot?
Yeah, remember we talked about hot, being honest, open, and transparent. And you have to ask your partner if they're ready for a hot conversation. So if they're not ready for a hot conversation, if they're not in a good place to have a hot conversation, you should delay having that conversation. But I was ready. We was on a walk, wind blowing through my hair. It was feeling good,
Okay. So I asked him if I could be hot, and he said, yeah. And I said, you know what? I don't think I want to do this another 20 years. And bro almost cried.
I ain't almost cried.
You did. He was like,
I ain't almost cry. I was kind of.
We've already established that you're
upset.
a crier.
I know I cried, but that wasn't. I was like, I'm Tony Reese. Like, do you know who you? What?
See what I mean? See what I mean?
I'm Tony
See what
Reese. But it did. We wasn't on the same page, and we have to learn how to be on the same page and communicate. Because the things that I was doing for the first 20 years, she was saying she don't want the same tension and me doing the same things for another 20 years. So, and it also, this is when we decided to kind of relaunch Marriage4Real and kind of start doing these podcasts. And I was like, man, the enemy is coming against us. And we just had a whole lot of tension. And so No?
No. I think part of it was the enemy was coming against us, but we quick to blame the enemy on something, the enemy for things. Like the fact of the matter is we were not listening to each other.
That's it.
We were loving my standpoint. He was loving me the way he wanted to love me, not the way that I was telling him I needed to be loved.
Right.
The way to love the 40-year-old Odessa, you cannot love her the same way you loved the 16-year-old Odessa. And I had been telling him that, but it was just like, pew, because he had got so comfortable and complacent in the way he had loved me. And we're always talking about, like, we're forever evolving. We're forever evolving, forever growing. So you can't love me the same way. Just like with our children, we love them all equally, but we love them. They show their love different ways.
Yeah.
Right. So what I meant by I can't do this another 20 years is just being okay with the okie doke, being, oh, that's just how he is. No.
Yeah. And I got used to speaking my love language to her, not speaking her love language.
Right. Because it's easier for me to speak my love language to him, because that comes easy to me. But this is what I would want.
Right.
It's easier to do that, but it takes some growth. It takes some humbleness. It takes some dying to self to be able to love your spouse the way they want to be loved, even if it makes you uncomfortable or makes you have to just go an extra little mile, you know. So we wanted to just share that with you guys and be able to give you some tips on how to be on the same page with your spouse so that you both are speaking each other's love languages. And so that's what we learned. We're not on the same page, and it's hard to do things or to want to do life with someone when he's going this way and I'm going that way, all because we were not having effective communication. We're communicating, but it wasn't effective communication.
Right. And when we talk about the love language, when love language is it's just the physical part of intimacy. So I'm a physical touch and words of affirmation. So I need her to touch on me and tell me I'm the man, right?
See, our
You see,
brother.
she's speaking my love language.
That's the love language.
But this is not her love languages. So love is an action. And a lot of people think love is just an emotion, but love is an action. And so she's dying to parts of herself to speak my love language. And I have to learn to continue to die some of my desires to speak her love language. Her love language is acts of services and receiving gifts. And so I have to remember that. But I noticed something that when I gave her gifts, one of the gifts that she loves to receive is food. So I always order extra food and bring it home just because the way she lights up. Like if Odessa didn't have a good metabolism, she probably would be a fat girl. I'm just saying. But I would love all of her, even if she was fat. You know, I still would love her.
Okay. All right. So
let's get back on track.
Yes. Tip number one is to don't be afraid to have that hot conversation with your spouse. Don't be afraid to tell them what you need, what you desire, the ways you have changed. Otherwise, you will be left feeling undervalued, unappreciated, unheard. And that will bring you guys further apart and not closer together, obviously. Right. So don't be afraid to have those uncomfortable conversations.
But make sure it's in the right timing and ask God to help you with your presentation. That's one thing that we've learned over the 20 years is that the way we receive things and the way we hear things is different. Odessa said a comment the other day. She said she need to learn the way that I hear things.
Right. Because he hears it differently than
how she tried to proceed.
So what I've done is like, based on how he responds, I'll say, okay, time out, wait a minute. What did you hear me say?
Right.
What did you hear me say? And he'll repeat it, and that gives me the opportunity to say, oh, no, that's not what I meant. In opposed to him taking what he heard and running with it and being mad all day or having an attitude all day, and I'm sitting here like, well, I just said, So learning how to just take everything does not have to be an argument. It's learning how to take the time to say, okay, I'm looking at your face, facial expressions, I'm reading your body language. What did you hear me say?
Right. Body language and looking them in the eyes as well. What did you hear me say? And that's a great question to ask when you can kind of see that the other person is not getting what you're trying to say. And so being on the same page, loving each other, and I just love the fact that we are growing and doing this. Like it took us a little stretch to even start back at doing these things because I was like, our marriage is not where I want it to be quite. And so, but you would never have the perfect marriage. So that's why we would say we just want to come and just be vulnerable and just show you guys, what we wish we had in like marriage mentors, marriage coaches, and taking a time out to work on your marriage. And so time is love. So the more time you spend on your marriage, the more in love, the more love you are going to receive and pour out.
Yeah. So we challenge you guys to ask your spouse if you can be hot with them. And the conversation that you've just been itching to have, or maybe you just want to know how he or she thinks about something, but maybe your spouse wasn't inviting enough for you to have that conversation. A good indicator, again, is to ask them, can I be hot with you? And if they say no, respect that. But then it's on your spouse's, it's on them to say, okay, maybe like after we get the kids put to bed, and you know, I get to chill out for a minute, then we can have it.
Yeah,
because you don't want to go to them and say, hey, can I be hot after they've had this long, stressful day at work or being at home with the kids all day. It's like, I can't take nothing else. And then you just popping off unnecessarily over something that didn't deserve all that energy.
Right.
So we challenge you guys to have that conversation with your spouse. Maybe it's just something that you wanted to know, and just ask them, can I be hot with you?
And another way to kind of start conversations, you say, hey, can I pray with you, talk to you about something so we can pray about it? And then that's also helping to get to that spiritual tank, the emotional intimacy that we want to continue to connect. So we got some different things that we're going to introduce to you, but we are believers. And so I know it's going a little bit longer, but we want to talk about just one scripture that made us think about this episode. And it is Ephesians 5, verse 28. And it just talks about being one. It says, husbands have the obligation of loving and caring for their wives the same way they love and care for their own bodies. For to love your wife is to love your own self. So dying to self and speaking each other's love language, communicating, and being able to have those hot conversations.
So that's our charge to you guys. We thank you for taking the time out with us, and we will see you again on Monday another Marriage Monday with Marriage for Real.
Marriage for Real. Let's
Discussions on marriage and intimacy.
Let's go. Grace and peace.